If you're stuck trying to build and launch your V1, your MVP, and it's just not happening, what I've come to learn as a B2B SaaS coach and consultant, it's that it's not about cash, it's not about code. It's actually about clarity. And today, what you're learning is the framework that I call a tri-loop launch to help you get to product market fit in a way that you're going to earn it. What I've learned over the years of building my own SaaS and working with so many different clients is that people get stuck into building that very first MVP or V1 and because they want it to be perfect. They think this is the only way. If I could just launch it, it could be so great. People are going to love it. They're going to buy it and use it. But then they just get so in their minds. They have this analysis paralysis, all of these moving parts, and then it just becomes a never-ending book writing exercise. You don't feel good enough to publish it when the secret is you only start to learn when you launch. And that's my heart behind this, behind the reason why I'm offering this. I became the coach I wish I had back in the day when I was in your shoes. So hang on tight where I'm going to walk you through the tri-loop launch to product market fit for B2B SaaS founders. So first, why bother listening to me? Because I've been where you're at as a B2B SaaS founder. I was the CTO, the tech co-founder, and I believe that I could build us into profitability, and boy, was I wrong. But the biggest win for us is when we finally did the pivot to build something that people wanted, and we were able to do an early adopter program and welcome people in before it was really built, but they were alongside us. People would go and volunteer and use an app and dashboard to say, I'm in Big Brothers Big Sisters, been here for 2 hours, here's what we did, it's awesome. Then corporate would have all of this data of all the employees doing amazing work. As you can see, we were getting $500 a month for early adopters to come in and run the program with us. And ultimately, we were getting 12K contracts ARR. Unfortunately, we had to sunset the company for so many reasons, many of which I coach for, which is why I became the coach to help you avoid that situation, to just get out there, get your early adopter program going, earn your way to product market fit, and then go beyond it. So let's dive right in. And what is this thing? Why am I talking about loops? Because to earn product market fit means you have to set out some different versions. A lot of times people will focus on the MVP, that version 1, to be like, we've heard about this. Maybe you have investors already, angels, families that invested, or maybe it's just your own money. And I found that that was a blocker of first-time B2B SaaS founders wanting that first version to be perfect. But I'm here to tell you that it actually takes multiple versions. People learn what you're putting out there and the fact that you're an expert at this, and you have this obsession with the market, with the problem, whatever it is that you're solving, as you adapt to the market. And as the market shifts, you shift along with it through different versions, getting that feedback loop. So keep that in mind. It's not about one and done. It is about multiple versions. So a little bit more on product market fit. Let's dive into that. What does it mean? So product market fit really is a feel thing. It's subjective. It all depends on the market that you're in and how the market is reacting to it. But I found that there's 3 tells where you could say, you know what, this feels like product market fit. Yes, people are paying for it. It's valuable enough that people say, take my money. Like, this is something that I need because it's workflow based. It's something that a person has for their job, for their role. It's kind of a role assist software. That's why we call it B2B, because it's a business product for businesses that they can then use internally or with their customers. The other thing, though, if you have been in SaaS for any length of time, churn is also another word that you've heard. And churn simply means they paid for a month or for a year, and then it's no longer something that they want to pay for, so they turn away. Whatever a company can do, a business can do to prevent churn is always of big importance. So if you see that your users are paying and they're staying, and you're fitting quite well, and then people say, you need to try this product. If you're using a product and you're happy about it, you're going to be telling your friends about it. So the fact that people would pay for something and then they would pay again for something and they would tell their friends to use it, that to me is how I quantify product market fit. And it creates that flywheel of let's just keep going, keep pushing the versions, keep adapting, listening to people, having that feedback loop, and you stay in the moving product market fit context that you've earned. So now that we understand how you have multiple versions that you're going to be pushing to get yourself to product market fit, where people pay, people stay, and people say, let's dive into the different versions and what it means to package a version together and get us into product market fit. So a version really needs to be three main things: a complete solution, an exciting thing for everyone, which includes you, something that gets you out of bed, and something that's monetizable. Let's dive into what it means for it to be a complete solution. The simplest way I can put it, it should be a full piece of cake, not just the bottom layer, but something that when you present it, when you sell it to somebody, there's nothing left for them to want. It is, yeah, it's a dessert. I bought a piece of cake. I got a piece of cake. Awesome. Even if in your mind you know that it's going to be something so much better in the future, you don't want them to feel that way because they'll say, well, I'm not going to buy this. I'm just going to wait for this better cake that's going to be coming up. It has to be something that has to have everything in it that even if you stopped doing anything to change it, it would sit on its own. It would be its own thing and you would be proud to sell that piece of cake. It's just all of the components that you need to make this solution something that's solid, even though the version that's in your head could be 7 layers tall and have this almond paste that comes from Italy, all these things that you're like, oh, if you could just see. They don't care. For now, if you're selling them something, it needs to be complete. The best thing you put in front of them that solves their problem. So make sure that you visualize this, which includes the whipped cream and the cherry on top, and they feel good, and so do you, that this is a solid, full solution. What I mean by exciting for everyone, it has to be something that for you, it gets you up in the morning. Yes, there's a version in the future that could be even better, but you yourself, as the founder, as the builder, you have to be excited for this because people will be looking to you for that energy. If you come into work or if you're building this yourself and you're like, oh, this is not fun, like I don't enjoy pushing this out, how difficult do you think it will be to invite people, early adopter users, to try this, to give you feedback, to pay for it, if at your core, you're just not excited about it? And getting excited about a version means you have a vision for the future. You know that this is one piece. Once you put something out there, you'll learn from it, and you can build on top of that, which brings people closer and closer to that ultimate vision that you have. But just how every version that you put out there has to be a complete solution, work so that this version is exciting for you, investors, potential hires, your family, people that believe in you are excited to hear about it because they can see it in your eyes, hear it in your voice. And finally, something that's monetizable. Because when you put it out there, it has enough where people throw you flowers. That's why I like to visualize this. As some say, money is like an applause to what you're doing. So you're putting something out there that's really useful to somebody's job, this role. They want to use it daily, weekly, monthly. And it's something that they say, without this, it would be so much harder to do my job. So they appreciate it. We're going to dive into what monetization means. The first way that you can look at making a version of what you're putting out there, it could be the MVP, but something that you're putting out there which is new. You want people to be able to use it fully for a certain amount of days that they would have access to it, or maybe they get a few free credits as they're trying it out. But because this is B2B, it means it is something that it's a role assist software, something that helps them in their day-to-day, in their job, as they get to try it. And now they're like, you know what? This actually helps a lot. So I'm going to purchase more credits to use this or upgrade my account so that I have access to this new feature that's put out there. The second way that you can make a version monetizable, if it is an MVP or your first version out there and you're going to use an early adopter program, which means you're inviting people to almost be co-founders, or they're just early to try it out. They have more of an opportunity to add their say, to give some feedback, but also you really appreciate them being part of this. They may be hitting some bugs and snags, so you explain this to them that it's something that you're applying the last 10% or 5%, and you need some feedback from users as you're putting this out there. One way that you can monetize is you can say, cool, here's a landing page, use your credit card, but we're going to give you a special code so it's 90% off for the whole year. But they understand that it's a thank you. It's not a, this is not going to work. It's just really, thank you for doing this with us because you're at the last 5-10% and you want real users to be part of this so that you get the finishing touches. If you position it that way, it's not a discount, but it's more of a thank you because this is really important work and you value their time and their attention. Another way that I've heard it done is that they pay for it, and instead of getting the usual 100 credits, for example, that they would get, you 10x it. so that they can use this thing a lot more than anybody else that's going to be coming afterwards and paying for it. In both cases, you're still getting them to pay for it so that the traction exists. And that traction is so important for investors, for anybody that's looking, even employees, even for yourself. When you see that there's traction, people actually using credit cards, that is the game changer. And it gets people used to, this is not for free. You're not inviting people just to try it out, because once they pay, once they take that credit card out, everything changes. So here's a couple of ways that you can monetize using EAP. And if this is something, you have an existing platform and you've added a version that has this new thing about it, people don't have to use it, but you want to encourage it. And earlier I'd mentioned churn. This is one of the methods that you can help as you're talking to clients, getting feedback. You can mention, hey, by the way, we have this new feature that's coming out that's going to be able to do XYZ. You can, at that point, give some extra credit. And a way to monetize that is to offer this as an upgrade or as a way to get special credits, even something where you can offer some special credits if they decided to do an upgrade for the year as a thank you. So it's like blending in the EAP way of getting early adopters to this new feature, but also making sure that you monetize it, not as a discount, please use this, but as a, you know what, I think you'll really appreciate this because I appreciate you. Here's some extra credits that you can use, or I'm going to give you special access for the next 30 days, something where they can actually use this new version to be able to incorporate into their working world that you are now the expert in because you're obsessing in their world. And anybody can appreciate somebody really obsessing in the world that you do for your day-to-day, and you're there to help them. So it's just really about serving your market. So I hope that that clears up a little bit how to monetize through your different versions that you're pushing out there. But now monetization can get confused with cash flowing the build. And what I mean by cash flowing, it's as you're building something, how are you paying developers, or how are you actually funding the fact that you're building something, especially if you're brand new? So cash flowing means that you have some money coming in, one of which is pre-services. So this is a technique that we used with my own SaaS, where we knew the target client so well, and we knew that what they needed was to organize how they're actually spending their money to go and help out the community. So we said, hey, listen, we're going to help you figure out the ROI for all of this volunteering and giving back that your employees do. So you can see that these days off that you're providing, or this extra money or time, is actually doing something great for the community. We want to help you quantify that. So we're offering a service to come in and do a series of interviews with everybody and bring you back a report to show you the ROI on how great you are as a business. Then you can use that to share in your marketing, in your hiring, because that service in itself was something that we were building into the platform anyways. So it was a way to preview that service and gain some valuable insights while bringing in some money. So we had some clients actually, they were up for that, paid us some money, and we're able to help fund our startup based on doing a pre-service or a service-first approach. Number two is pre-sales. If you notice the monetization, we want to monetize it once it's already pushed. But before it's even pushed into production, if you're having great conversations with your market, people are excited for it, you can bring them on earlier and say, hey, listen, we're looking for a select group of people who are willing to prepay for this as your way to be first in line to XYZ. And that's how we did it with our own startup, is we got some LOI, some letters of intent, we got some payments. So before this was built, fully cooked, we had people that were waiting for it. So the fact that money was on the table, money was brought in, they depended on us. We could show this as traction. Investors liked seeing that, and it just boldened their investments with us. So all of this motivated the team to push this thing out there with such quality that then it was exactly what people were waiting for. So we were able to do pre-sales to help build that traction and front load what we were doing. So we were using the pre-services, and then we were using the pre-sales. And then also number three, so pre-seed is the classic way of finding angel investors, friends and family, people that want to provide money for the startup, or partnering up with people who can do the work and you give them a piece of equity of the company. So this could be a co-founder, bringing them on board. They give you sweat equity and you give them a piece of equity. And it could actually be a government body or somebody out there that has a program available to partner up with you for a piece of the revenue, so a revenue sharing opportunity. There's all sorts of ways that you can generate money or get money in to help front the cost of building this version 1. Now, of course, it's a little bit different now where we have AI building things, but just to say that there are ways to create these versions, these MVPs, to deliver a better service. So I hope that this shows you the monetizing once it's out, how people pay to use it. And cash flowing is being able to find the money, find ways to have some cash to pay for staff or the technology that needs to be put in place so you can deliver the service and then be able to monetize it. All right, so the picture is starting to get more and more clear. Now we understand the different versions that get yourself to an earned product market fit. But for these different versions, what do you include? Is it features? Is it tech? And one of the things that you can look at is feature choices. Of course, you're not trying to build something just to push features out there. It has to be something that is really valuable. You are studying this, you're looking at the workflows, you understand what the core feature is, stuff that happens before it, stuff that happens after it. You're going to choose your features carefully. And also, you have this ultimate vision. All the things that you imagine, that product market fit, that utopia of that SaaS build, you're like, we just need to get to this, but you're starting with versions. So what you're going to do is at version 1, how can you get somebody to experience just getting the win? They have that aha moment. So just think about the different services you've seen out there. We'll just pick a simple one. You want to have a transcript for a YouTube video. So you go to this landing page. You don't even have to sign in. It's just input YouTube link here. So you just copy, paste it, create transcript, and it's right there on the screen. You can copy and paste it. That's what I mean by just getting the quick win. And it can be just that simple. So how could your version 1 be the quick win? And version 2 is something that takes a little bit more effort. For example, if the SaaS that you're building is something for teams, you have the manager that's able to create an account. They set a few things up, but they get to the quick win where they're like, okay, this is cool. I get to do certain things for my team. And there's a little bit of work that needs to be done for them to see the bigger result, the quick win. They got it. But to get more wins, it could be inviting their team onto the platform. So you see how it's a little bit more work, but once they do it, then they have access to more wins. And version 3 would be the longer term wins. So you're starting where you yourself use the SaaS as a manager for a team, you're getting your quick wins, you've invited your team and they are starting to see their quick wins. Now the team members have to do more work on their own in order to see the deeper long-term results of what the SaaS really does for the team. For example, it could be something like creating SOPs. So you as a manager, you go in, there's SOP templates that you can use right away, share it with your team. And you invite your team on so that they can also go and find the SOP templates that they need. But then level 3 could be they need to create their own SOPs. So you have features that they can use to create their SOPs only once you've onboarded, they've learned how to use it, and now they need to use their own. You can gamify that whole process. But you see how the different versions get them to a deeper and deeper state of using the software, and then they get to see the wins. You get to see the reporting on what they use most or if they've accessed them or not, and you get to take every version and say, you know what, I put this out there. It actually worked as I thought it was going to. Version 2, you can see how there's some friction, so we're going to remove that for version 3. Also add those features that go deeper as you're talking to the users, getting some feedback, and they're helping you shape the product market fit, which is why I say you're earning that. It's getting pretty hot in here, but we need the sun. Okay, so here I was talking about the different feature choices that help guide to this ultimate version that you have envisioned in your mind and how it's modified as you've gone along. So that's one way to look at the versions, looking at the different feature choices that you can put in each one. Another way to look at it are the tech choices that you would have for each version. One of the things that I find very interesting is, as a builder, and I did the same mistake as I said earlier, I was like, yes, I can build ourselves into profitability. So it was code first, features first. But what if your first version didn't need any software at all? You didn't need to create custom anything. You could use things that are existing. I had a really interesting contract where I helped a client figure out their product vision, strategy, and roadmap. And after doing a service mapping exercise, and I realized, and this is what I recommend to them, that the first version should be human centric. So they were able to actually deliver the service that people were paying them for without having to build any technology. It was just a human service, and then they could use existing SaaS, what they have, to just go through the motions and then learn from that and then apply it to a version 2 where they could leverage things like AI agents or workflows, depending on if they needed more creativity or more predictability. So it's using a human first approach, then layering on the technology that is needed to make that service even better. And then as a version 3, then you can build a SaaS or something custom. By looking at it from that point of view, you can get started much earlier, delivering that version 1 and learning, because again, you don't learn until you launch. Version 1 was out there fast. They could monetize version 1, and then they had insights, they had finances to be able to build on to version 2, and then once they got to version 3, then it made so much more sense because they had accumulated. So imagine if they started off with a full SaaS right from the beginning, how much longer that would take to put in place because of all the back and forth that needs to happen to make sure it's what's needed by the market. So maybe for you, version 1 can just be human services. Now, if the particular industry that you're in, you can't do human services, it has to be software, you can start with something really small. Using other people's markets is something that works a lot for micro SaaS. For example, a Chrome extension. So maybe you don't need to build a full SaaS right away. You can start with a small Chrome extension, put it on the different marketplaces that Chrome already has, that already exists. Go into Chrome, you search for it, and they can pay a monthly fee to use a small and easy Chrome extension. Then once you get all of the insights from there and you see people using it, how they're using it, they provide you with some feedback. Here you are, monetizing something small until you get enough insights, enough data that you can upgrade to a second version, which could be standalone, using your own branding on a URL, and then after that could be a full SaaS. The difference between a micro SaaS and a full SaaS is that a micro SaaS can be one service, so it's still that going to the quick win, but it's just one feature, one service. There's other features that you can put around it, but that's when it becomes more of a full SaaS. As you go up in the versions, you can add more and more features that are in line with the core service, but it could take a bit more education, a bit more hand-holding. This is where extra team members can come in. You have a customer success team, the customer support, and more education. So as you grow that, you can see how it's no longer just an easy Chrome extension or no longer just a single service that's very clear and straight lined. It becomes more involved, and then you could have an academy or a university tied to the SaaS, and people get educated, and it becomes a fuller experience as a SaaS. So you can see how if you started with that for version 1, it would just be so much. It would take so long and just be too overwhelming for anybody new to try this out. So that's another way to look at the different tech choices and how you deploy it to get yourself to product market fit. Because after all, it is you, your team, your company becoming an expert in that market, and again, how you earn product market fit. All right, so that was a lot to take in. We talked about the different versions, how you get to earn yourself to product market fit. And a version is something that's a complete solution and it's monetizable. It's something that's exciting. And we've also talked about the different things that are included in a version from a feature point of view or from a technology point of view. So now let's talk about if you have a version that you need to put together, it's software. How do you package it? How do you even create a version where you have something that you can push? There's really 3 main elements to a version needing to be put together. And to simplify it, I have it as plan it, pack it, and push it. And as you are planning and packing and pushing each version, each time you get to learn so much, and then you're earning because you're monetizing it, and then you get to put all of that into the next version and the next version to ultimately get to product market fit, which you're earning. And I hope that it starts to break the preconceived notion that your first version, your MVP, that one and only version has to be the end all and be all, but it does not. This is how we systematically, as a rhythm of deploying features and technologies, get to product market fit. Let's dive into what each of these elements actually mean and how to do it. Okay, so first, as you plan it, now this goes into a lot of details, but for this video, I'm just keeping it service level. These are the things that I actually guide my coaching clients through, but for the sake of keeping this brief, there's three main components that I dive into: vision casting, service mapping, and then service monetizing. That's where you kind of go, what is the vision that you're trying to do? What are the goals of the company? Who is it that you're trying to serve? And how is this one version leading up to that? And in order to really decide on the version and what's going to be in this version, you do a service mapping exercise where you have the core service and all of the things that happen before the core service, everything that happens after it, and you draw the through line. So guiding the person. So what is one step going after the other and after the other, and who's doing what data is created, and what things could be put in place to make it so that it's a quick win for the first version. And this is where you get to decide what's a new version of the cake that you could be pushing out there that meets that vision and the company goals. And then you talk about how you can monetize this. Also, it touches how to cash flow it. And the four roles that I like to have to go through this planet, pack it and push it, is you have a developer, somebody who either codes it, creates it, prompts it, somebody that's looking after piecing together the technology. You have a UX expert, so somebody that's looking after the experience, the UI, and the look and feel. And then you have a product manager that looks at the goals of the company, goals of the market that you're trying to get into, and make sure that the product itself has the elements that meet that market. Sometimes they can create an MRD or a market requirements document or a product requirements document. But then there's also this fourth one, which is a product marketer. So this is the person that specializes in the user, in the ideal customer persona, that can know the words that they use. They know the problem so deeply. So with those four together, being able to do the vision, the service mapping, and monetization brings the right people into the game to be able to then go to the next, which is packing it. So again, keeping this brief, the core four that I mentioned will do a build sprint, which is coming together and deciding what needs to be put in place, how it's going to all play out, and organizing it as a sprint. Then you have a layered execution done just in time, or legit for short. Thank you for humoring me on that. Just means that you have different people along the chain that are going to come in at different times. So just in time, you have one person coming in to build this piece, the other one tests it, validates, and then there's some discussions being had. So it's just in time so that these people can do the other functions of the business that need to be done. So it's just a way to frame it and look at it. And then to keep this pushing forward, there's something that I call a 3D committee. This is really where you have demos, deadlines, decisions. You're deciding and you're committing that, you know what, yes, we're still doing this. So you commit to push it through or quit. And it has to be really that decision, or else it can go on forever. But things like a deadline, here's the date that this needs to happen. You can change the scope in order to meet that deadline. But when you're building towards a deadline, all the expectations are really clear. So being able to work to a deadline, showing what we have, making a decision, is it good enough or no, we need to change the date and what that implies. And it's just a way to keep things going so the communication is clear and you make sure that the version is something that's a complete solution, that's exciting for everybody, also monetizes. And then finally, when you push it. So this is all about the EAP. I've said it before, so an early adopter program, the setup of it, what are the metrics that you're looking for? What do you hope to be able to answer with this EAP? How close is it to what the market is wanting? Is it matching what the version, what we designed this to be? When you actually execute it, you have all of your cues of what do we say? How do we lead them through? It's almost as if you were working for a large organization and you had to roll out this new software. If you've ever been part of that, it is tough because people are working away and you need to give them a tool to keep working. It can't be something that's so jarring. So it has to be really clearly articulated what it's for, how it's going to improve what they're doing. And then once you've gone through that, then how do you take all of that feedback and push it into the next version? I know that's a lot, but that's why I dive deep into each of those elements with my coaching clients and coaching program. But for now, just know that this exists and this framework gives you the ability to push version after version out there for your B2B SaaS clients. And typically this could be, it could take a week, it could take a month, two, depends on everything that's involved. But it is definitely something that can take even 6 months to a year to go through 3 versions. It could be 1 version a quarter, but at least this gives you a framework on how you can do that in a way where communication is super clear, everybody's excited to be on board, and they know what they're working on. And that completes the overview of how you can use a system like this to get into the rhythm of launching version after version after version. So you can pause this, take the notes all you want. This is the sort of content that I push out in my Instagram, on LinkedIn. If this is something that you need, listen, we are all in this together. I'd love to help you. Book a free strategy session with me, because there's nothing worse than having nobody. But I just wish that somebody would have said, listen, it's a lot. You don't have to reinvent this. You have people that have been there, that have done that. This is my way of taking that whole framework and making it super easy. And I help you out with templates, and I have a community and a small group, and I have this coaching program. I would love to help you, but more so, know that you're no longer alone. If you need somebody to talk to about this stuff, about your unique context, you need to go faster. This is why I'm here, and that's what I help coach. You're not alone. I'm rooting for you, and we are all in this together. Until the next time.